Hi folks, and welcome to the first of 6 parts in this webinar series where we're going to be focusing on the audience engagement journey online in particular. The reason I'm doing this is because this is what we're going to look at here and what we're going to take you through is a way of breaking down the way in which we think about our audiences and the way in which we engage with them. And particularly when it comes to thinking about social and digital media, I find this a really helpful exercise to go through that really helps us think about how we're going to measure and evaluate our campaigns. Now, it's an exercise that I do quite a lot in workshops, but it's also one that I find people struggle with quite a lot because we tend to drill down in quite a lot of detail about all the different things that we want our audiences to think at different stages in the journey that they have with us as they get to know our organisations. But for me, this is one of the most critical exercises that you can do because, as I say, it does enable you to measure those different stages of the journey rather than just measuring a campaign as a whole at the end. This will give you much more clear objectives as you're going through your different exercises and activities rather than just trying to measure one big mass of activities. So in this first part, we're just setting the context of what we're doing here and the model that we're following. So I'm just going to start by diving straight in and just showing you the model that we're looking at here. So this is a very classic marketing model. This is the audience engagement pyramid. You might have seen something similar as a funnel. I prefer the pyramid, other people use the funnel model. But all this does is this breaks down 5 different stages of someone making a decision or taking action, buying a product, signing up to become part of your organisation, whatever it might be, whatever you need them to do, the 5 stages that they need to go through in order to get to that point. So initial awareness raising, finding out about you and your organisation, through to the interest, credibility and desire stages where they're getting to know you and they're beginning to feel like they want to be part of you, and then through to the action stage, signing on the dotted line essentially. Now, throughout this series, we're going to be putting particular emphasis on how this applies to education organisations. You can adapt this model for schools, colleges and universities if you wish, but broadly speaking, this model adapts to these stages. So we have the initial marketing stage, the awareness raising, the getting out our brand messages and messages about our courses, our programmes, our environment, whatever that might be, through to the recruitment stage where people are beginning to think that they want to be part of your organisation and all the things we might do in there, prospectuses, open days and the like, then into the admissions phase where they're actually applying to become part of your organisation, and then hopefully onto the community phase where they become part of your organisation. Now, as I say, this completely applies to an education context, but we're taking this one stage further and we're looking specifically here at online, social and digital media in this series. I just want to touch very quickly on the key things that we really want we need to understand as we're going through this journey. So this applies throughout the whole journey. We need to know what sites our audiences are using, what sites and web spaces they're actually engaging with. But more importantly than that, we need to know how they're using them. It's all very well knowing that the vast majority of prospective students to a university, for example, are probably on Facebook, if they're based in the UK or the US or many other parts of the world. But just knowing that they're on Facebook isn't enough. We also need to know how they actually use Facebook once they're there, because that will influence the way in which we use it to engage with them. We also need to know what their wants and needs are. Now, these are their wants and needs not just relevant to us as an organisation, but what their wider wants and needs are in life. By knowing this will tell us that key thing that we've got down the bottom there, what is actually competing for their attention. So our competitors aren't just our brand competitors, so to speak, so the university down the road, for example, or the neighbouring independent school. Our competitors are anything that is competing for their time and attention and might draw them away from having some kind of engagement with you online. We also need to know about their attitudes to privacy. Do they even want to be engaging with somebody online? Are they happy to be in these spaces and talking to you through a social media site in a very public way? We need to know things about their access to technology. How are they actually likely to be engaging with your web spaces and your social media content? Are they coming to you through a computer, a desk-based computer? Are they finding out about you through a mobile device? Do they have great broadband access, or are they still on some dodgy old modem? All of these things we need to know, and we also need to know the demographic information about them, just the same as we would for any other marketing campaign that we're doing. So these things that we need to know, they stay consistent throughout this journey. And then the final thing that I just want to point out in this opening segment, as we set the context for talking about the audience engagement journey, is just an understanding of what I actually mean when I talk about digital and social media. So I'm not just talking about Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus. I talk about a much wider spectrum here. So I like to think of digital and social media as being a spectrum of interactivity, where at the one end we've got tools and technologies that tend to be very kind of one way in their communications approach, and very kind of push message approaches. And at times technologies that we've had knocking around for a long time, but we just disseminate them in slightly different ways now. And then at the other end of the spectrum, the social end, the end where we kind of don't really have very much control over what's going on, where people can be saying lots of things about us and very much engaging and participating in active dialogue rather than just passive listening to what we're saying. So this is how I tend to present social and digital media. I'm sure there's a few terms that you might use differently or you perhaps think are missing from here, but broadly speaking, I think this captures the vast majority of what we're talking about. So that's the introduction to this. We're now going to break this up into 5 stages, and we're going to start by looking at the initial awareness raising stage of the audience engagement journey, and how social media actually plays a role in that stage and how you can be using social media at that stage. So come back and take a look at that segment in the next episode. Thank you.